Why don't we'll just move into just a little silence here. We'll do our grounding practice. So go ahead and just find a seat. And as we go into our formal practice, yeah, it's nice to, it's funny you mentioned that, Alaska, because I was gonna say, like, notice how you approach the work. We know, like, it's like, let's be clear, we're here to do some work. This isn't some kind of, Kelgon take me away moment. It's a time of being with ourselves and being with whatever comes up. And even if, so if you close your eyes, take a couple breaths. So as we just practice moving into stillness or noticing what it feels like in the body to stop, and practicing a full stop. Remember, you're handing yourself this wonderful gift. To feel the base of your body, this, however your body is, what's touching the earth, and grounding down. Now you could bring awareness to like your nose, your nostrils. Just feel the air moving. If possible, you're breathing through your nose. You might hear, like, tune in and listen to your breath. That subtle sound like wind in the trees. Even your breath is, if there's a steady, free flow. And a sense, maybe sensing the whole body, like the body is free, spacious, and open. And you can tell, like, I'm physically softening, relaxing. Soften your throat. Your whole face. What do you notice? How does your body feel today? Just noticing. You don't need to like it or dislike it. What are you thinking about? What is weighing on your mind? What are the headlines today? And we notice this maybe unresolved stuff. And we choose, right now I'm not pondering that. Feel your body again, feel your skin. Soften your skin. It's hard to describe in a way, put into words, but we are practicing just being and knowing that you're doing this. We call it knowing being. I love those two words that describe this initial practice of relaxing, feeling this ability to kind of physically let go and relax. And yet at the same time, there's energy of alertness, uprightness. So it might seem like they're kind of dualistic, relaxed and upright. But you kind of play with those, like these two balancing energies. You might imagine or sense the area around your spine. Speaking of just aware of areas you typically aren't aware of, like that back body area of your spine, like the kind of flow of energy through your spinal cord. Imagine, sense, feel into that space, all the way up around your brain. So awareness is kind of roaming around, but it's in the body. Usually awareness is roaming outside of the body. You really can go anywhere. So just maybe a little dharmet here, a little teaching today could be, I notice this sometimes even when like, okay, I really should sit and meditate, that I can feel this like um, kind of attitude of like, yeah, I don't want to, like I'm, I mean, it's a funny thing about meditation is someone can just sit and really appear to be meditating, right? We can look like we're in a deep state of meditation, but you never really know like what is going on inside. And um, what it's, I guess, our what we can play with is like, well, what do we do? We notice this like, and what I've learned is simply how, well, like we started with, that this practice takes work. It's an interesting kind of work that we're here to do. And since something takes work, we can feel like, oh, I'm not up to it. And I'll kind of laugh to myself because, like, well, how hard is this to bring? How much effort does it take to bring awareness to my body? Yeah, and I'll just go like, wow, it's a little mind blowing. Like, it's clearly not that much effort. But the momentum is not something we can disregard of like how much momentum we have about, just striving so much to like, but I have other things I need to think about. I have, that can weigh really, really heavy. And so we just see like, well, what is going on? What are my kind of my obstacles? Um, so yeah, step one is like to have kind of and we can even play with some words of what this feels like for you, but what attitude or what do I need to generate then? And to me, it can feel like curiosity. I mean, that helps because it's kind of playful of like, could I bring in like being curious around why don't I feel like meditating, Um, and even like a kindness, like you're saying, Alaska, about, a kindness is a really good kind of even body feeling to bring in a sense of calming, because I notice when, as I get to know myself, I can be really impatient. And that impatience is what is like, I can't underestimate my impatience. Um, but I guess that there is kind of an underlying faith that I know that I always, it's just like a guaranteed, um, there will be no remorse if I do the practice. Um, so this quality we can generate of being kind to ourselves, being understanding is kind of, and I can generate these even in my body. Even when I know I give these little cues a lot of like softening the smallest part, even your lips, and how that's a little doorway in, like it is for me, of okay, can I soften my lips? All right, sure, I can do that. And then just a little at a time, um, that I notice that can help me move into what I would call more of the depth of being in the present moment, or knowing being. This is what it feels like to stop. And then part of this understanding is that it would be unwise to sit here all day. You know, this isn't like, well, not, you should stop and never get up again. Well, of course not. No, but we're stopping and even understanding, well, why? Why stop? And it's good to really explore that. Like, well, what does happen when I stop? And it'll be a very, there, like, this is where the, um, like any books or anything we can read about this practice really stops there, of what is actually going to happen for you when you stop, and what benefits you feel. So I really appreciate that. Is like, or even like we shared, like, well, what have you noticed that, um, what are your personal benefits from doing this work? And it's going to vary so much for everyone. And then finally, this is just one phrase that I'll share, is I've always gone back to this little two-phrase teaching about how tight the mind can get around kind of thinking that it knows something, like how tight we get around wanting knowledge, thinking like, well, I know, that person doesn't. I do. And the phrase is, why get stuck in the quicksand of knowing when you could stand on the firm ground of not knowing? So it just points to how when we think, we have this idea that we know something, like that, they call it like a quicksand, that we get, it's a stuckness when you could stand on the firm ground of not knowing. So to me, this brings in also just that kind of that feeling, which I really do like, just being curious. Well, maybe there's more here. Maybe I don't know the whole story. Maybe I don't know everything. Um, And this can really help, when we know ourselves, we think we know our partner or someone, our coworker, you know, oh, I know that person. They're like this. Mm. Um, Keeping the heart kind of light and open. So let's go ahead and we'll just take our time of formal practice. Finding whatever is, like just feeling into your seated or your posture right now, that I can feel a sense of being relaxed, but then also that uprightness, that awareness, uh, awakeness. Moving into stillness. But as you're doing this, we've also mentioned that there's really no hard, fast rules. That sometimes even something like rocking a little bit, like if you do this like a little rocking practice, it's very similar to being still. It reminds me of like nature, how little waves on the lake. This can be soothing and grounding. Just do a little bit of rocking. It might even help with that practice of knowing being. You can actually like feel your body a little bit more if it have this gentle movement. If we're honest, we might be aware that we don't spend a lot of time with awareness deep in the body. So bring your awareness now down to your belly. And you might bring in this wish, this that aligns with kindness. May I be free of tension. May I be free of tension in my belly. You might notice your breathing. The breath is waves of movement. Waves of breath move through the body. As we practice, we do it sometimes have to put on the teacher hat. Like, what phrase or words would you say to yourself right now? Now, this can also just be something like, I'm feeling my inhale, I'm feeling my exhale. And moving awareness deep into this present experience. Oh, thoughts come in, and I can watch them pass by. Oh, it's always nice to just notice like how you're feeling now after you're doing this formal practice time. Yeah, often to me it just feels like I've gotten a little perspective or just some space around things that just felt like, really kind of intense or, um, yeah. So thanks everyone for being here.